All those types of innovations and use cases are part of our presence over here in Barcelona. Now, the agenda, 2 blocks. First we will start with the 2 gentlemen on my left side, on your right side. Jeroen de Muynck, CEO of Sectra Communications. Happy to have you here, Jeroen.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. And secondly, Dennis de Geus. Dennis is heading up the cybersecurity practice of Capgemini, the Netherlands. Welcome to have you as well,
Yeah,
Dennis.
nice to be here.
Okay, so the sound test succeeded. That's good. Even better than the hand mic. With the 2 of you, we'll start.
Yep.
About, let's say, 20-25 minutes. Then we'll take a little look around and we go to the next panelist. Having said that, I would like to hand over. I would like to have a little discussion with you, Jeroen. You start off with. So, Sectra, you are the CEO of Sectra Communications. Why are you here in Barcelona? What is your objective or expectation of MWC?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and once again, thank you for the invitation to be around. For me, this is about meeting with people. Finally, now we can meet physically, so I really look forward to encounter everybody, to inspire each other with the business that we are doing together. Because together we have to make this work. My job is to secure the Dutch government, not only the Dutch government but also the NATO and the EU. So we have those environments. We help governments to secure their networks and their services. So that's basically what Sectra does. And I'm here, of course, to meet with people, to get interested views of the 5G, 6G, where is the technology going, and also where is Sectra going to be with that technology, where can we leverage on the technology as it comes up, and where can we inspire, where do we want the future to go together.
Now, if you look at Sectra Communications and your role as you just described, what would happen to the Netherlands or, let's say, other European countries if Sectra wasn't there? If you weren't the one helping out and supervising and improving our security, what would happen?
Yeah, thank you for that. So Sectra is we provide phone services for the Dutch government, the MOD, and with our phones we know that decisions are made inside the government, and we know that we call that digital sovereignty. So it means that whatever the Dutch want to do, it has to stay Dutch. So we keep the state secret for ourselves. And we make sure that no other state actors, no other adversaries can eavesdrop or maybe influence on decisions that are being taken, either in the Minister of Defense or either on the Prime Minister level. So basically what we do is we keep the boogeyman at bay, and we protect the state secrets with our products and services. And like I said, not only the Dutch government, but governments throughout Europe. And I'm also here to, of course, to encounter with those representatives from other governments.
The Netherlands is only a small country on a global scale or even European scale. But how do we distinguish ourselves? How do we rate as the Netherlands compared to Sweden or to Germany? How well are we doing in your view?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that as a nation, the Dutch are really good in making connections, and of course trade is in our DNA, but also the security world really comes from a very long history of eavesdropping and a very solid ground on technology. And the Dutch can be, even though we are a small country, we are rather big in advanced technology and also advanced eavesdropping stuff. So we could be very proud. And there are some cases, you can read in the literature also, that even in recent history, we really are a very clever country when it comes to keeping the boogeyman out and also eavesdropping on other states.
kind of rounding off, what do you view as the main challenges for the Netherlands in terms of security presently and in the future?
Yeah, the main challenge is, I think, where do we start? I mean, we are, of course, under attack all of the time. All of our systems are under attack. We have to keep on patching everything. We have to do so many things. So where do you start with that? We can help, of course, to get a strategy in place, pinpointing the assets. What do you really want to protect? So if that is totally clear, what you really would like to protect. Like I said before, for me it's really important that the decisions made on the level of our cabinet, that stays really inside of the cabinet and nobody can mingle with those decisions. So if we say that, okay, that is the asset, then we have to do everything that is possible to protect those assets. And it comes with people, it comes with, of course, budget, and it comes to get your stuff together and also invest in time. This is not something that is built overnight, so you really have to start with, okay, you have to have the need and the wish to secure it, and then make it happen. So those are the challenges: people, budget. Yeah, get inspired and get going.
How clear can you be? Thanks for that. Now you have decided to participate in the MWC Netherlands ecosystem already for a number of years. We're proud of Sectra. Your team is present and participating in all of the activities. However, there's one little secret that we did not share with the audience, by the way, not only on the pavilion but also online. All of the viewers can ask questions if they want. And one of those questions could be, what about those ties that you are wearing, you and I? Because your Sectra team is here, but what's the secret of our ties?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's up for us to meet, you know, maybe later on in the bar to talk about that shared tie.
Exactly. We won't just give it away.
No.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Jeroen. Please stay around because we'll have some of the debate. I would like to hand over to Dennis de Geus of Capgemini, the Netherlands. So, Dennis, I believe you will do a short introduction first before we're going to, let's say, into the discussion. However, I feel Capgemini, everybody thinks of it as an international corporation, mainly coordinated and managed from Paris. Is that true? Or is Capgemini Netherlands a different animal within Capgemini?
So we work very closely with our other country organizations, which you have to. I mean, cybersecurity, for example, is really a global threat. We see that every day. So working closely together, sharing information, sharing experiences is really key. At the same time, each market is different. So the Dutch market is different. It's more mature than many other markets. So it's really important also to make your own strategy in that. Align with what the group has and build on that on your own strengths. And that does make it unique.
Well, having said that, please go ahead and share some of your secrets with us, please.
All right, thank you. So welcome everybody here. And when you walk around, 5G is all around us. I mean, look at all the stands here. It's really impressive. There's a lot of technology here. But that also makes you wonder, with all those great new use cases that we have and new things and devices that we connect, is it secure? What do we need to do to keep it secure and change that? And that's what I want to talk to you and to give you some guidance and insights on things to consider when looking at a digital 5G strategy. Before we do that, let me take you a little bit back into the old days, or the current days as you want to call it, in how does traditional cloud works and what is changing when we're going to 5G, because that's important to understand when looking towards security. So here you see a simplified setup of when we have all sorts of devices. So think about sensors, smart meters, IoT devices, etc., that we connect through an access network to the cloud. And in the cloud, all the processes is done, and the signaling is done on the IoT side. Now, what are the challenges here? The challenges is that the computing capacity on the IoT devices is relatively low. So that means all the data needs to move to the cloud for the processing. And that takes time. And that time that it takes is often the limiting factor in what we can do with those devices. And this is where 5G makes a change. So again, you see the same devices, but you will see many, many more devices because we open up a whole range of new use cases. And those connect through, for this example, a private 5G network to what we call edge cloud computing. And that is the real game changer here. It's not just 5G, it's the combination of 5G and that advanced computing very close to the IoT and IT devices. And that then does all the processing and communication with external networks. So think about a factory where you have sensors in the environment that measure the production, and they can communicate real time with their manufacturers to get updates, to share data about predictive maintenance, etc. So that's very interesting. Now let's have a look at that model further from a security point of view. And some things I want to share with you. So one of the first things to think about is, all right, create all these devices and these new opportunities. But what does it mean in my environment? Now, in the typical environment, we already have quite a few of these devices. But with 5G, and you can see it here, every stand you walk on, they have a new solution, a new device that you can plug into a new use case. So the number of devices will grow exponentially. So that also brings a challenge, because I don't know with you, but many of my clients and organizations I know already have a challenge in managing their assets, knowing what you have, where it stands, etc. Imagine that explodes in number. So how do you manage those number of devices? And if you don't know what you have, it's very difficult to protect it. But also about new data. So we'll start using all the devices for new functionality, which means we are creating new type of data. So think about sensors, for example, here in the environment that track progress of users with face recognition. What do we do with those data? Is it compliant with GDPR and other stuff? So those are all things to consider that is changing by the new use cases that are enabled by 5G. Bringing in 5G also means that we will using radio networks for 5G. So there the question is, how sensitive are they? Can they be disrupted so that the communication breaks, for example, and processors stop? Or who has access to those environments? Can it be interfered with? Can data be changed on that? So it's really important to think about where do I place it and what's the vulnerabilities of that and how do I manage that? And then this is a really important one, because what you basically see is that we are creating miniaturized data centers on shop floors. And typically when you make things smaller and it has to be cheaper, security is one of the things that's being stripped out, which is quite a challenge. So thinking about how do you secure those devices, how do you secure the applications and data running on those devices, think about treating those as a sort of public cloud and getting the right safeguards around it. And who has access? Because typically these things communicate with a lot of external parties, because that's one of the business cases in there. So this is really something to consider on securing and bringing that in your environment. Then of course the broader core network and the capabilities that it brings in forms of network slicing, really important to think about securing those. And cloud in itself will not change very much, but still it's very important. What will bring new challenges is the security measures that you need to take across of it. So think about identity management. So many organizations have identities for their customers and for their employees, and often struggle already with managing those number of employees. Now imagine that you have a multitude of devices that also have an identity and that you need to manage. Is your IAM system capable of that? I know from experience that a lot of organizations that I know are not ready for that yet. So don't assume that my current system will fix it, because that, well, could be driving off a cliff. It's also about, my colleague here talked about security, about encryption. How do you make sure that data is encrypted from the end device to the cloud and back again? Will all these devices and steps support the same type of encryption? And as you see in today's newspapers, about the risk of cyber attacks. So imagine with all these new things and machinery being connected to the remote world, are we able to monitor those devices? Ja, geef het maar.
Test, yeah. So are we able to detect incidents in different places, and are we able to correlate that? Are our security teams capable to, for example, detect different behavior in IoT devices? So those are typical things that you need to consider, because with 5G comes a lot of opportunities, but also quite a few responsibilities in terms of security, because the environment is changing. In explosive use of data, devices, complexity, etc. So what I wanted to do is to give you a bit of things to consider when looking at security in your environment. So I've put down 6 steps, and if you take anything away of this session, take away these steps, because that's things to consider when looking at your organization. So when you think about your business strategy, start thinking also directly on your security strategy from a 5G perspective, and make your plan in a structural way. Think about the risk and compliance aspects. What type of data am I processing where? And what compliance do I have? Do I know all the risk across that chain? And am I in control of that? If you have a security architecture, which you should, make sure that these things are in there as well. That 5G, multi-access cloud computing are all in there. And think about data. More and more organizations are becoming a data-driven organization, especially empowered with this type of technology. So think about your data strategy. And I already mentioned identity and access management, very important. It is a headache for many companies, let alone in this type of environment. So better think about that today than tomorrow. And last but not least, like I said, we read in the newspapers every day about cyber attacks, especially in the current geopolitical situation. So think about the risks here and what your security teams need to have in order to be able to detect and protect that. So thank you for listening to this, and I hope it was useful for you.
Well, thanks so much for that, Dennis. Well deserved, well deserved. Let's move into a debate a little bit, gentlemen. We've heard about Sectra and some of the challenges for the Netherlands and globally as well, I guess, looking forward in the future. And we talked about solutions, services, how to approach it, how to identify, how to solve issues. And I think that's not enough. It's not sufficient to be able to answer some of these questions. And those are the ones that we would like to tackle briefly. But it's all about risk management, risk assessment, and finding solutions to minimize or reduce or nihilize all of the risk that might be happening. And so let me start with you, Jeroen, if I may. What do you feel are, let's say, the top 3 actions that the Netherlands should take to ensure a cyber secure Netherlands?
I would say, well, you have to start with a plan, writing a plan, get the strategy correct. That's the one. The second one is budget, like I also said before, and that has, I'm just rephrasing the stuff from all the colleagues in the security world, that the Dutch are not spending enough on the cybersecurity, because we are really in the attack, under attack. So we have to think about that. So that's the second one. And the third one is we have to get the right people on board. It's really important to get the right people, the right mindset. And it's not, and I like it. I mean, it's a fun job. And so everybody who wants to join, of course, jump on the bandwagon and let's make it secure.
I remember, I believe it was the 2.0 Netherlands Digital House, which was about 2 weeks before the Dutch elections, March last year. And there was one of the parliament members at the table, and I asked him this question. And you did not prepare for this, so I'm curious what your answer will be. His name is Kees Verhoeven. He's D66 and very much into the Liberal Democratic Party, but very much into digitization, ICT, but also security. And I asked him this question. I said, what type of investment should the Netherlands make to have a cyber secure country, or even election, which is ahead of us? What type of figure do you think Kees would have mentioned from a governmental perspective, and also, you know, looking into a number of years, not, so let's say 4 years for the current administration?
I would say that figure lays in the order of magnitude like we had the Delta Works as Dutch. Of course, we are proud on the defending ourselves against water. And so that was 9 billion, that was guilders at the time, but let's take that for as euros. But that's the size of tsunami or what you know. So we have to defend against that one. And then the sea level is rising, and of course, well, we don't know what will happen on in the equivalent on the cyber attacks and so on. But I would say, think about the Delta plan. So what were the costs involved in keeping us our feet dry, and now we have to do the same thing digitally.
Okay, that's a very diplomatic answer. If you would mention a number, Dennis, what do you think the Netherlands should be investing in the coming years?
Well, I think the Cybersecurity Council gave a number on that, and that ranged in several billion in order to mitigate. Because we need to remember, it's not just about fixing the future. We also need to fix the past, because we have a lot of legacy environments running in the Netherlands that are not secure. I often give the example, if the car industry would have invested as much in security as the IT industry has, we will be driving around in cars without ESP, ABS, seat belts, etc. That's what we need to fix, let alone of this great new technology we're talking about that also needs to be secure. It's quite a long way to go.
I think you're both right. He said at least 1 billion
No,
euros.
several billion.
That's what he said. And he also said we're not doing enough. By far, we're doing insufficient in terms of investment in cybersecurity, which is one of the key technologies of Dutch Digital Delta as well. So high priority, high stake, high risk. And I remember the third measure that you mentioned to ensure a cybersecure Netherlands was about people, human capital. And so, Dennis, if you look at board of management or supervisory boards of, let's say, organizations, not just private organizations, also public, what type of board responsibility do you feel they have in security or 5G transformations?
Well, it's on several aspects. So luckily we see more and more that boards see that security is important and they're asking questions about it. So that's really a good development. The downside is that we often see that once they ask the question, they delegate it down in the organization. And then it becomes less important. So there I would say, make sure as a board you understand what are your strategic cybersecurity risks. So if those manifest themselves, it will hamper your business strategy. If you know these 3 to 5 risks, make sure that you're informed and able to steer those risks. And that, if you do that, and you do that proactively, you're on the right track.
Which brings me to a third question, also for you, Dennis, if I may. Misinformation, disinformation, myths that we hear, read, talk about as, let's say, public community or even professional community. What type of myths around, let's say, 5G, we're here in Barcelona, MWC,
yeah.
What type of myths around 5G security have you heard, or should we at least recognize?
I think what's important to realize, so natively 5G has a lot more security features built in, especially with the latest version, you get more and more features in. But it doesn't mean that in the whole chain that you have in your organization, everything is secure. So you really need to look at end-to-end and see that you actually manage and make those features work for your organization and fit. They're pieces of the puzzle, and they need to fit in the wider puzzle of your organization. And you're still the one making that puzzle. So that, for me, is an important myth to think about.
Okay, thanks for that. Rounding off, back to you, Jeroen. So if it is a people challenged foremost and for all security, what would you recommend or advise the people here live and online in terms of the most important people-oriented priorities around security?
Yeah, about security, it's a bit of a hobby horse, but I can just jump on that one as well now. It's security comes with some sort of hurdle, so it comes with awareness sessions, and that has been debated a lot. But keep training, keep practicing. Of course, it comes with a PIN code, It comes with a hassle. You have to get over that one, take it very seriously. And we are all end users, and we know, of course, how to use all the stuff around us. We have to do what we have to do in the industry is get security so easy to use that it is not in the way, because otherwise people will just go around and try to find their way around stuff. So that's the task that we will have to do. So let's work on that together. From the end user, bear with us a little bit. You know, it comes with a little bit of a hassle, and for the security the industry as a whole, we have to do our utmost best to keep it really ultra simple.
I would like to add something to that, because I think if you look at all the technologies that we have, having people to understand it and implement it safely, make sure it is secure end to end, that's a challenge. And that's exactly where we have a shortage of people. So my question to the audience, and especially in the public sector, think about what can we do to stimulate to get more expert resources, because those will be essential for driving our secure future.
Okay, gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much on behalf of the group. Jeroen de Muink, Dennis de Geus, a little applause please for our two panelists.
Thank you.
I have not been able to have a lagerhuis, as we call it in the Netherlands, a lagerhuis debate, because you seem to agree, both of you. More than disagree.
Oh, we have a shared passion, so that must be right.
Thank you very much, and please take a seat in the audience. And meanwhile, I would like to invite our next three panelists, Gerard Ketelaar, Questus Leadership Innovators, Annemarie Sipkes of the Authority for Consumer and Market, and Hans Leiting on behalf of the BTG, which is the ICT Association for large and medium-sized companies, but also being an executive at HCL. And ladies and gentlemen, you are now being mic'd, as it's called. The mics are being put on. And meanwhile, I'm looking around at the pavilion. And it seems to be filled with more and more people, so that's great. All of you interested to learn about the Netherlands, just join, come over, take a seat, and listen to our distinguished panelists. Hello, Annemarie.
Hi.
Please take a seat.
Thank you.
Perhaps in the middle?
Deze heb ik niet meegenomen, nee. Volgens mij sta ik aan trouwens. Ja, dankjewel.
Zo, hè?
Ja joh, doe het gewoon goed, wordt gewoon gezellig, meteen.
Ja?
Denk ik, toch? Gewoon je lage huis.
Ah, doe maar zo een zaak dan. Ik vul hem al in mijn zak.
Ik ben even voornaam kwijt. Nou, waar zit Gerard? Jouw voornaam?
Ja, top.
Hans? Ja?
1, 2, 3 test.
En we hebben... Ja.
Okay, the last mic is being put on, so I think it's, given some speed in the program, we shouldn't make it too lengthy either. I think I would like to welcome all three of you.
Annemarie.
Please take a seat, Hans. There's some water for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. Welcome to the second part of our Netherlands Digital House. We'll change the subject somewhat. But if you look at, let's take this one. If you look at the human capital agenda, and I think that's one of the items that we would like to explore. And Gerard, if I may start with you. So you are the managing partner of Questus. And Questus is claiming and probably also proving to be one of the leadership innovators in this society. What brings you to MWC Barcelona? Why are you here?
Well, first of all, a good question, I think. Why should we be here? I think we have two reasons. When you look around here, most of you see technological developments. Is it okay? Can you hear me? Good. What we see is people. And that brings us also to the second reason. If you want to attract the right people for all these innovations and let them dare to use these things and experiment with them, you need the right culture. And if you talk about leadership innovators, we have approaches to make a culture of trust, psychological safety, we call that secure-based leadership, and thereby we can unleash the potential of all these people. And I think the message today that I want to bring is build the right culture and we can help you find the right people.
Thank you for that. It seems like Questus has developed its own model of approaching leadership capabilities. I've read about secure-based leadership, and just now we had a debate about security. And so secure-based leadership, what does that bring for leaders in your view? And what is lacking perhaps in most or a number of organizations that you've been dealing with?
Well, if you want people to take risks, you shouldn't put pressure on them, because then they will cramp and they won't try things, they won't experiment. And if you hit them when they make mistakes, they are not daring to make more mistakes. And what we need is people that use all this fantastic technology to experiment with it and find solutions for the world, to make it a better world. So what we need actually is a culture where people feel secure, where you unleash their potential, and they not only feel taken care of, but also they dare to take these risks and use all this technology to help the world a bit further. And we have found all kinds of ways to secure the dialogue in a team, understanding each other's differences, and bring it together to what I've personally found out. I've worked for 20 years in the telecom and IT industry. And I always thought it was about all the new developments in the technology, but it was about people. And the last 20 years, I and my team, we are learning about how to support actually cultures that really make it possible to use these kind of technologies and experiment with it. And we call that secure-based leadership. I can tell a lot more. It's actually based in the hostage world, but we won't go there today. Yeah.
Okay, so education, awareness, training, it's a lot about coaching, it's a lot about also recruitment of the right people. And so I've been told, Gerard, that you didn't come alone to Barcelona, but brought one of your friends out of the recruitment area. Is that true?
Well, we are here as Questus, but Questus is also a group. Questus has an executive search solution and also leadership and assessment consulting solutions, but that's for the C-level part of the market. But we also have a lot of questions, especially these days, for professional services. So I brought with me Robin Denny. Maybe he can introduce himself for a short moment. He's from Look Recruitment, our daughter company, and they can find even the rarest professionals. Please.
Hello everybody, Robin Denny from Look Recruitment, sister company of Questus. And because of the safe environment that Questus creates with companies for us, we are specialized with a great team of specialized consultants to find these people within the safe environment of that Questus creates with companies. And we have cutting edge technology to scrape a lot of candidates, specialists within these cultures. So take a look and find out.
So if you need people, we can help you. If you need the right culture, we love to help you because that's our mission.
Well, great to have both of you on board, Questus and Luke, and I think it proves that the Netherlands is not only looking to technology. We are looking at the social and the personal and the people part very much indeed. And so, you know, great to have you on board. And keep on developing those, I would say, visions moving forward. And sometime we will follow and understand. I'm sure about that, Gerard. But we do need encouragement, so keep on going. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I would like to start a little discussion with you, Annemarie, if I may.
Sure.
So you are here in two responsibilities, I understood. You are the Director for Telecoms and Transport of the Authority of Consumer and Market, as well the chairperson of BEREC. Could you explain your role in both organizations, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm Anne-Marie Sipkes. Nice to meet all of you. I'm the regulator for the telecoms sector in the Netherlands. We look towards the working of the markets and making sure that there is enough competition within telecoms, within connectivity, to stimulate both investment and access for people and businesses, so that they have the proper choice. Within the telecom regulation, there's a whole European framework, and we have a European Federation of all national regulatory authorities, that is 27 EU member states, as well as a growing number of non-voting members. So in total we are a BEREC family of over 35 regulatory authorities, and what we do is we try to contribute to the European single market by exchanging practices, by monitoring the developments, and by making sure that we help in building extra connectivity, having sustainable open digital markets, and protect end user needs throughout Europe. So it makes a lot of sense to be here in Barcelona today, as well as yesterday, because if you want to be an effective and efficient regulator, you have to understand the market. You have to be in a constant dialogue. You have to understand where the sector is going. You have to see where the investment is going, and you have to be in that dialogue. And I really like the way that Gerard presented the issue of trust, because I think with, for example, end users, the only way that everybody is going to participate in the digital world is through trusting the systems. And I think we as telco regulators, for example, we are making sure that our systems are resilient, are reliable, and also that people have choice. That if you choose a telco operator, you can at some point choose to go somewhere else. You can take your data somewhere else. It would be wonderful if you had data portability, or if you could take your data with you, as we are all used to taking your phone number with you if you move from one operator to the next. So these are things that we are trying to accomplish in Europe.
Thank you for that. It is your first time in Barcelona, I believe.
At the World Congress, yes.
What were your first impressions, Anne-Marie? Walking around, looking at the exposition, looking at the Congress, maybe the ministerial program. Mm-hmm. What type of takeaways have you been witnessing and experiencing so far?
Well, two things come to mind. One, I was at the session Ask the Regulator, and I was there with my colleague from the Indian Authority, from Singapore, and the lady from Uruguay. And we were exchanging experiences going through the COVID crisis. And the things that all the dilemmas that we face, the importance of connectivity for living, for working, for connecting, and the importance of bridging the digital divide, making sure that if you're an SME, if you're an entrepreneur starting, or if you're just a citizen, or if you're trying to follow a university class, you have to have access. And we all share that importance, that's one. And we all look for ways in how to incentivize the proper investment to get that done. So that's the first. And the second, I have paid particular attention to cloud services actually today, which I think that cloud computing and having the ability to scale up your core services in connectivity, as well as being able to process all the data that we can get from 5G, is also fascinating technology. So that was one of my pet projects today.
I think I would agree with both of them, quite significant, and those type of observations should also be important to make the Netherlands even more innovative, more secure, more digital as we move forward. Do you feel, Anne-Marie, that the Netherlands is doing a good job at the moment compared to some of the other European countries? How would you, I asked the same question in the previous debate on security, but how would you rank the Netherlands?
Maybe I can be not so very modest in ranking the regulator. No, there's two things. On connectivity, I think we have been blessed with the AM6. So with the IP interconnection based in Amsterdam, I think that has given us a tremendous advantage. I think our networks are very well advanced. So I think in that respect we are very fortunate and have a good basis and a solid foundation. The other thing that I have learned from my colleagues is that what you need for good investment is a stable regulatory environment. You do not want us to change the rules every single day or every year. You do not want us from the ACM demanding you to do one thing and then the privacy authority is telling you that that is a no-go. You want us to cooperate and to coordinate. And that is actually exactly what we are doing, and I do find that in the Netherlands we are much more converged and much more cooperative than many other countries. So I hope that that helps in building on that solid basis that I think that we have.
Absolutely. I think one more item would be management. Tomorrow we'll have a visit of a delegation from BEREC on the Dutch pavilion. A number of groups and countries and operators will be visiting. What would you hope as the chairperson that those BEREC members will recognize when they come over here to the Netherlands pavilion?
I think that in my chair year, under my leadership, there are two issues that we're trying to promote, which are very much interrelated. And it's the twin transformation of both digital and sustainable. And they have to go hand in hand. And I do think that in the Netherlands, we have that tradition of making sure that whilst being very entrepreneurs on the edge, you do take your public responsibility and your social responsibility. So I hope they do get a flavor for that, for the sector taking on the responsibility to make sure that we have that twin transformation in the Netherlands of both the green and the digital transformation.
Let's see what happens tomorrow. Thanks for your inspiring contribution so far. And I would like to move on to the panelist number 3, Hans Leiting. Meanwhile, all of you have been looking at a slide mentioning BTG Services, which is my favorite telecoms association. Petra Klaassen, the CEO, present as well. Excellent to have you here, Petra. Now, Hans, the fact that you're on the table has to do with your membership of one of the expert groups of BTG, Smart Society. You know, and I would like to invite you, but also challenge you a bit, to explain to the audience live and online, what is a smart society? According to BTG, according to yourself, according to, let's say, the large end-user group behind the BTG, and I know that you're going to make an introduction, so please, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. My name is Hans Leiting, working for ACL Technologies and a lot of more telecom companies like Huawei, Samsung, Nokia. Since my Huawei period, we are a member of the BTG group, including Nokia and recently also ACL. Why the BTG group? This is an independent group with a lot of members, and I show you some slides that we built a sort of stack ecosystem of all the partners where we bring partners together. I heard also from my colleagues, and especially from you, is that we have to work together, and that is also my team, building bridges in a connected society. Coming back to your question, what is a smart society? That's a good question. If you look to the teams building bridges in connected society, we have a lot of groups, and I'm responsible for the Smart Society group. If you look to the other groups, and I will show you a picture in a later slide, I think there is for almost 1,000-year experience in the telecom industry. If you put all the logos and all the experience worldwide, from Ericsson, from Huawei, from ACL, from Comscope, every partner, we bring a lot of information to the BTG group, you know. And my feeling is in building bridges is that all the experience in technology and rolling out at operators worldwide, but also in municipalities, is use that knowledge also in the Netherlands. And the BTG group is an independent organization where we can bring that together, not only to municipalities but also to Industry 4.0, you know, a lot of enterprises. So these are the groups. We talked also the former speakers with cybersecurity. So we have that also in the BTG group to bring everything together. Well, I'm in the front, of course, with Petra, and since yesterday evening I'm the vice chairman, so also nice to hear. But these are the group members of the Smart Society. What we are doing now is, in the past years, BTG delivers services to their members. It's mostly traditional services, telecom expenses, etc. But due to the fact all the members are also in a digital transition. Could be any logo, you know, it could be the harbor of Rotterdam, could be Schiphol in the transition. And what we are doing is to create new services with all the experience that we have to support the members. Yeah, so we are in discussion about 5G, private 5G, about slicing, but also about ORAN. ORAN is with the next wave, etc., to bring the knowledge to our members. Yeah. This is on the slide is an example of smart cities. I'm working already in my period in Nokia and Huawei, all 7 years with smart cities, to explain what the impact is of technology and how can we bring to the cities. I know in the last years they're talking about a lot of applications, crowd control, traffic management, license plate recognition, all this stuff. But you need smart technology. You need smart technology, smart infrastructure. It has to be secured. You know, it has to be speed, etc., etc. You know, so and that we bring together. And now we are in discussion with a lot of cities. And now we get some traction. After 5-6 years, now there is some traction to understand the digitalization, and they are also involved in the transition. You know. This is a model we made with three of the members of the Smart Society group. We built a model, and you can see on the upper layer there are BTG services, and that is what I mean. Then we're talking here about city services, with health services, several services. But if you explain to a city or a government what the impact is, what they are thinking about services, and you're going down in the layer, then everybody said, whoa, there's a lot of impact over here, you know? And then we don't talk about data aggregation. We don't talk about security, but also privacy, you know? So in this model, we're starting now up the discussion with a lot of enterprises to explain, you have some issues on a higher level, your organization issues in the transition, but we can help you in the translation what you have to do. Not only technology-wise, but also process-wise. You have to organize your processes. And in the lower layer, the below layer, you see all the partners that are involved in the Smart Society expert group with a lot of experience, not only in telecom, but if you look to access in camera technology. So we're bringing all the knowledge together. Yeah. That is why it's called building bridges, bringing the ecosystem, and there to share public and private. You have to share, you know, because we can do it not alone. It's an ecosystem. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Hans. But it does raise a number of questions, I'm afraid. Complicated slides, although not that complicated. We talked about future network services quite a lot in the past days. Cybersecurity is one of those key technologies of Dutch Digital Delta. One of the other is future network services. How important would that be for creating smart society or smart cities? And do you feel that as the Netherlands we are, you know, giving it enough importance to build that smart society? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you can define future network services, you know, also for B2B, but also for residentials, for consumers. You know, that's future network services. Most important, because there's a tsunami on technology, is first of all is security. You have to, you know, to get the feeling it has to be secured, you know. And first, if you look to residentials, I got it from Asia when I worked for Huawei, is speed. That is in future, because a future network services brings value to one person. Your future network services could be different per individual, you know. But most important is speed, you know, and security. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's good that the society of BTG is spending time and attention to future network services because, hey, we all need to, you know, believe in the story, if you will, and make it happen. And for that, the end users, the large corporate end users, are really important. The demand side, if you will. The supply side is something else, and you know about that, working for suppliers, many suppliers, be it Indian or Chinese or American or Finnish, so you know how that goes. Do you feel that, this is a question that we have not prepared for, I warned you, do you feel that the demand and supply balance is well in order in the Netherlands? So do we understand each other, suppliers and customers, clients? Are we in sync, in your view?
Not 100% in sync. Not 100% in sync. And you can imagine if you have a technology change. I came in a technology change that the technology changed in 15 years, 2G, 3G. If you look now to the time period of change, it's 6 years now. You know, while we're rolling out 5G, we're starting already with ORAN and 6G. So you can imagine, I have feeling about this, you know, but you can imagine if you have a big enterprise or a province, you know, or the Dutch government, in the speed of change, they cannot follow it. So we have to help them, and that is also the BTG group, the services group, we help them step by step what they have to do. Yeah.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
We need to be patient, we need to invest in that relationship and have that dialogue. My personal feeling is that the Netherlands does a far better job than some of the other European countries to build that bridge between supply and demand, like we are, you know, very hard-working ants in the Netherlands. Well, that's not true, but I like the picture though. One more question, if I may, Hans. What do you feel as a recommendation to our audience are the 2 or 3 main focal points to build smart society? The speerpunten, like we mentioned them in Dutch.
Now I have one. It's the public sector and the private sector built on trust and working together. And you feel now, you know, the public sector, yeah, but you have a commercial logo, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And then the government is a little bit hesitating. But that is not the point. You know, that is not the point. We have to bring it together. And as I said in my first slide, we're bringing a lot of, per logo, a lot of experience worldwide. What's happened, you know? So it's trust to each other.
And that's why we're in Barcelona. This is a global conference and we learn from each other. And, you know, this is the way for the Netherlands that we can benefit from it. Well, thank you for that. I have seen that you were quite capable of handling the slideshow. Can you move it one slide further?
No.
There we go. I knew you could do it. So this is the debate. We're very much on track. Humor, Dutch, you know, that's the way it goes. We're very much on track in time, by the way. So we'll take another 5 to 10 minutes and then we'll close off. In order to facilitate our debate, a couple of items are mentioned on this slide. And the key question is how to create and maintain a competitive Dutch digital delta for the Netherlands. And maybe Annemarie, if I may start with you, ladies first. How do you feel a secure, connected society in the Netherlands is progressing? Do you feel comfortable? Do we need some encouragement or do we need more supervision? What do you feel? How well are we underway to build that secure, connected society?
Well, from my perspective, I think we do have, in general, a good level of competition, and I do think we have an active and thriving connectivity industry. One of the things that let me go back 3 or 4 years ago, when we were all very much worried about the white spots in the Netherlands, how we were going to connect everybody in the Netherlands, how are we going to connect, for example, the rural or remote areas. And in some countries, you know, talking about our small country in a delta and everything is very close by, but still, we had really concern there. What I really what I thought was really encouraging is that we had government thinking about all these plans to make sure that we had fiber rollout until the very smallest of villages, and there was no need. We had a complete different business model. We rely on the entrepreneurs that are out there, farmers, for example, who know that they need to be connected to make sure that they give the data on their production, and that, you know, even agriculture, of course, is one of the smart parts of the economy in the Netherlands. And they thought of in those regions, we had a whole different business model to roll out fiber. So actually, at present, when I internationally have to present where our fiber is already out there, where we are very much connected on a very high capacity network, it is actually not in the cities. It is not in Amsterdam. It is not in Utrecht. It is not in The Hague. It is not in Rotterdam. You have to go out way in Groningen, the Beemster. Who would have thought? So that gives me the idea of the level of dynamics that we have in the Netherlands, and how we can think of new ways to face challenges. So I do understand the fact that if you think about a smart city, that is very much a community that you have to bring together, and that you have to make sure that you do it, because this is you have to get it right. For example, when your 5G antennas or your small cells, how do you actually organize that on a city or local level? But again, the business models, they will be created because the demand is out there, and I think that is very promising for the future.
A lot of work to do, but being on the right track, we might be and we should be confident that the Netherlands will be able to make progress as we desire. We'll talk about this ecosystem and the partnership between public and private in a minute. But Gerard, let me now turn myself to you, if I may. Mm-hmm. Initiatives to boost Dutch digital leadership. Do you know about those initiatives? And if so, what type of initiatives should we have, or do we have at the moment?
Of course, a lot of companies are in a digital transformation process, and over the last 2 years we've seen unbelievable things, I think. And we all have to get used to a totally different way of working, hybrid working. Actually, I was thinking about this secure, connected society. You gave me a few minutes to think about it, and I think if the companies would build and become the secure base for their people, the Netherlands is already a very secure base. We build dikes, that's very secure. We can work together, that's what we developed in the past. Then I think we will be able to attract the best talent in the world. And if we let them dare to experiment with things, I think it will be an unbelievable society to live in. And I really hope that together we all will be able to prosper from that.
Promising, but we should be critical as well, I guess. The belief is not infinite.
What do you mean by critical on what?
If we feel that those type of initiatives and projects should be on the table, it's not going to happen just like that, and we do need that awareness, consciousness, and maybe some crisis, maybe some issues to make that happen. It won't just be common sense, Gerard, I believe.
To be honest, I think we had crises enough, and it's time to end all these crises and start working on what we really need to do to save the planet. Yep. And all these small things that are happening, for me it's unbelievable. It's outrageous, to be honest. And to give a good example of what secure base is not, I don't have to give his name, we all know, that's not a secure base leader, you know? So let's build a different world together, I think. Yeah?
Hans, maybe a final item that I would like to ask you, and please step in if you feel different or disagree. I like disagreement, it's quite productive now and then. You can see this beautiful button on my jacket. It's all about sustainable development goals. You can see the circle with all of the colors, United Nations. So we need to build a sustainable, digital, connected, secure society. But sustainable. What do you feel the importance of the SDG goals are for that smart society in the Netherlands, looking ahead in the future?
Yeah, important, of course. If you look now what's happened in the Netherlands, in a sort of waves, 5G, small cells, millimeter wave. You know, it has to be somewhere in the city. Charging poles. It's booming, the charging poles. We have, I think, 150,000 charging poles. We have to grow to 2 million. To where in the city, you know? So the cosmetics and the visuals in the city are very important to combine one and another, you know? If I'm going back to a mobile operator, for instance, you know, in the rollout of 5G, the energy consumptions of base stations, it's very high, you know, and there are programs now to reduce the energy power of base stations, etc. So it has a sustainable goal, and it is also in the requirements of operators to vendors like Huawei, like Nokia. You have to fulfill that requirement. Energy saving on servers, on data management, data and cloud, etc. Yeah, it's very important.
So really, we can't emphasize that enough. The importance of looking at that aspect, making it measurable, looking after the priorities of municipalities, of provinces, of ministries, and also to the business side with the enterprises. And you know, the Netherlands has I think a large potential to get that sustainability even higher on the agenda. We're doing well, but we can do better. Now, we, public parties, private parties, our ecosystem, public-private partnerships.
People?
How do you three view the cooperation between public and private parties in the Netherlands, and where could we do better in that cooperation between them? Our ecosystem here in MWC Barcelona, the Netherlands Pavilion, is a great mixture of public and private companies, but hey, it's still different worlds, or am I wrong? Who would like to react on that?
I would like to react on the sustainable part still, because of course we have it about energy, but people put in energy as well in their work. And we always hope that they get energy back. So if that's in balance, that's a sustainable model. So use people and their talents in a sustainable way is also very important. And I would love to help with it. Yeah. But again, to public-private, I think you're better in
well,
that.
I'm thinking of what Hans said on the
Maybe trust.
on the importance of the rollout of 5G base stations, for example, or the rollout of fiber, where we have seen that there is a huge burden actually on how municipalities are managing that. And I was well, if you want some critical remarks, that I was a bit surprised sometimes of the way that well, let's just say that we've been on a steep learning curve on how to fast track, for example, the permits that are needed to either put down base stations or to dig open the streets. Because for fiber, I mean, it is lovely when it's in there, but you first have to do all this construction work, of course. But actually, the learning curve was very steep, and I'm also very proud of those municipalities that have actually prevented some of the industry to cherry pick. Because you can imagine that if you want to put fiber in a municipality, as a municipal public servant, you would want your whole municipality to be fiberized, right? You do not want to stop that at the end of where the shops stop and where the offices stop. You actually want it extended to the last 2 kilometers. You know, as we say in the Netherlands, achter de blauwe borden. You just go on. You know, you go outside of that. But that is the expensive part. And I really like the fact that our municipalities got more conscience and said, there's one way you can roll out. You have to do it all the way. And if you don't do it, I'll find somebody else. And that is a kind of, you know, that is not the together cuddling cooperation. It is everybody conscious of their own role and saying what I need for all of my citizens, for all of my businesses, is that you roll out to everyone. And not just the easy part. And you can make a buck by taking all of them. It's a bit more costly, but you can do it. So this way or the highway. And I really like that. And I'm very proud that we supported the municipalities in this respect, to be more self-conscious and stepping up for that importance of connectivity. So that is not is it the cooperation? I'm not sure, but it's in the dialogue that you get better results.
So true and so motivating as well. I think the whole partnership is high attention, high priority, high visibility, and as Dutch people we know pragmatically how to deal with that, but also given the challenges that you mentioned. Maybe Hans, would you also like
I have two
the
things.
commitment part, the commitment. How we commit those parties, do you think?
No, I have an example. I mentioned the rollout of charging poles. Yeah, it's a tsunami on charging poles. You know, everywhere are charging poles. I know some companies, what they're doing. If you look to the municipalities, I saw some RFIs from municipalities on the charging poles. If you look, the consumers, you know, they have already, a lot of consumers have charging poles. You know, for instance, if I'm gone, somebody can find on the app I'm gone, and he can charge on my pole. And afterwards, I get a push, I send them a ticky. It works. That means that you reduce the charging poles in cities. So we have to do it in a smart way, not in the traditional way. You know, we have all the digital tools, and we can handle that. And we are now testing this, how we can do that. That is a reduction, a lot of cosmetics in the city, yeah? And a charging pole, you know, or a base station, or a lamp pole with a small cell, it's not hufte-proof in the weekend. You know, they hanging on it, and you know, so if you can reduce that, you know, that is one. The second one, I want to react on the competitive digital delta for the Netherlands. We are already innovative. If you look to Wi-Fi is a Dutch invention. Bluetooth is a Dutch invention. So we are still ASML, you know. But what we miss in the Netherlands is a minister of digital. And that is so important to get out of the outside world, but also to prevent a lot of security what is coming to the Netherlands. A minister of digital. We are the biggest industry, ICT and telecom, in the Netherlands. Even more than export and agriculture, etc. And we have no minister of digital. Can you imagine? You know?
I think that will be so unwise.
Yeah, because
I think it would be so unwise to have one minister for digital, because if you have one minister for digital, I would be very afraid that all the other ministers think digital is not about me. And if there's one thing that we cannot afford, it is that the minister for transport, the minister for health, the minister for education, all those, the minister for energy, all those minister things, I don't have to think about digital. That's up to my colleague. So I understand the ambassador function. I understand that you want your security, but you want every minister to think about digital.
Yeah. So for instance then, if there is a big hack, and there are hacks going on, MediaMarkt, VDL Group, but now there are coming hacks on the energy networks, on the critical networks. Who is in the lead then? Who is managing this in the Netherlands?
The NCTV and the Cybersecurity Center. We don't need a minister. I mean, actually, if you want work done.
I think we need
Like
a
your
whole team.
cybersecurity experts to start working.
This is a great way to end our panel. Did you notice the drive? Did you notice the passion? Did you notice the enthusiasm of our panelists? This is the way we Dutch deal with each other. And yes, we will continue that discussion, but only with a drink in our hand.
This is engagement.
By the end of this day.
Real dialogue.
I would like to thank all of our panelists, Annemarie Sipkes, Gerard Ketelaar, Hans Leiting, but also Dennis de Geus, and certainly Jeroen de Muynck. All five of you, thank you so much for being here and contributing, giving out and sharing your experience, your expertise with us. And we know how to work and deal with that. So thank you so much. For all of you, please stay around. The bar will be opened. We finish about 3/4 of an hour earlier than planned. not bad. And so I'm looking forward to that. There will be a Netherlands Digital House number 5, I'm sure about that. No date yet, but this is something that we would like to continue, to have that debate on the table and show who we are and where we would like to go and what we would like to achieve. Thank you all for attending, for your attention. We'll be here in Barcelona for another 2-3 days, so let's go to Netherlands. Thank you and see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Dankjewel.
Dirk, dankjewel. Hè.